record this particular one. So let me kind of give a background as to what we're going to do. We are going to be listening to a podcast, but we're not going to have a podcast discussion. The number one thing that we hear from so many members, especially new members who are new in business to boot, they don't know who their ideal referral partners are. And so we are going to listen to a podcast on how to use AI and utilize the resources that we as a chapter already have. You can use this for anything. You can use this for BNI Central Maryland. You can use it any place that has a directory with different businesses. It could even be a chamber, but we have additional resources in the form of the ideal client Google Drive, the Google Sheet that we have that so many of us have filled out. For those of you who don't have access to it, I will put the link to that in the chapter, in the chat. So we're going to listen to the podcast, and then it's going to be straight experiment. We're going to take that Google link and that Google Sheet. We're going to upload it to ChatGPT, and I'm going to show you the results for me. And there's a worksheet that I've kind of created with AI prompts that will take you step by step. Who is your ideal referral by category? What should you be asking for in your 30 seconds? How should you be having one-to-ones with that person, right? So it's kind of giving everybody a cheat sheet on how to quickly identify who could potentially be good referral sources for everyone, okay? And that's only exclusive to our chapter because we have this Google sheet that everybody's been going in. Most of us have been going in and putting in our information. So that's an added incentive to please do that because your name is being missed. Other people are not even recognizing that you're in here if you're not on that chapter list.
And one of our AI gurus is now in the house too.
Oh, good, Gary. Nice to see you. I was gonna email you, but then Brian did it, and I was like, okay, perfect. So it's basically using AI and how we can maximize our chapter results as a result of that. So let me share. So we're gonna start by listening to the podcast.
Episode 900, AI and
You can hear it okay?
Yes.
Networking, Part 2.
You're listening to the official BNI podcast with BNI founder and Chief Visionary Officer, Dr. Ivan Meisner. Stay tuned for networking and referral marketing tips from the man who's been called the father of modern networking, along with suggestions and insights into getting the most from your
last or work. And you've helped make it work for a long time, and I appreciate you.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Ivan. I really appreciate you.
Well, it's been great working with you, and I hope to continue to work with you for a long time.
Yeah, we have to get to episode 1800.
There we go. Well, I'll be really excited about episode 1000 for sure.
Okay.
So I brought back Spencer Reynolds. Those of you who listened last week know Spencer was talking about AI and networking, using technology to deepen real connections. He's been with BNI for nearly 18 years. He runs the Tampa Bay franchise and generated more than 124 million. And thank you for closed business last year for the region. We had a really good conversation, and it's rare that it's so deep and meaty that I say, hey, come, let's do a second one. But that's what I did last week. Spencer, do you want to kind of wrap up kind of the spreadsheet idea that we were talking about before we go into the next topic?
Yeah, so just for your weekly presentation, preparing all 52 weeks so you're ready to go, ChatGPT AI for any of the models can help you do that by saying, here's my date, here's my LCD that I want to focus on, my lowest common denominator, one piece of my business and the ask that I want, and then who I want to be connected to, and then let it come up with the words. And you can actually go through and prompt all those, and it will output a spreadsheet at the end that you can download and go, wow, I've got my entire plan ready to go. Now, of course, you got to make sure that they all work for you, but that is an incredible opportunity to prepare that many all at once.
It is. And if you haven't listened to last week's episode, go back and listen to it. He goes into detail about it. I want to add one thing to that, and that is I talk about something similar to what he's describing, but not with AI. It's episode number 327, Your Business 101, where I talk about how I recommend that you sit down and do 52 weekly networking success strategies. And and write it out. But here, ChatGPT helps you do all of that. So go listen to episode number 327. All right, Spencer, we still have a lot of content for you to cover. Talk about AI assisted introduction.
So how you can get connected to people. Now, I'm going to use this in two different formats. One, how you can actually find the right people. And the second one, who to invite, especially inside of some of those connections. So as you have your chapter, you want to be able to find who are the people that you can do more business with. Now, one of the things you can do, maybe many people don't know, is you can copy and paste anything into ChatGPT. You can use documents, you can do things. But if you go right to the public website for your chapter, which if you go to your region, like our region is BNITampa.com, you go into the chapters and you find your chapter. All your members are listed there with their names and their professions. So one of the things you can do is copy that sheet, just copy, click, paste it into a ChatGPT window, and then say, here are the members of my chapter, because it is public information. You're not disclosing anything out there. Here's my chapter list. Who on this list are the best referral partners for me, and what identification can you do for what you know that I do? Now, you want to prompt it beforehand so it does know who you are. So you need to know your AI voice knows who you are and what you do. So maybe have some conversations before then if you've never done that. But then say, who are the ones that I should be working on, and what should I talk to them about? And now it comes up with brainstorming to be able to go, wow, these AI assisted introductions, like they're telling you, these are people who normally work well together in BNI, because there's a lot of people all over the world using BNI and using AI. So it knows a lot about what we're doing with our weekly presentations, our feature presentations, our asks. And so who are the normal people that I would normally do business with? Because you might not think it's normal. And it comes up with a great idea. And you're like, wow, now you can say, help me write an email or a text message to this person asking for this and requesting a one-to-one to meet with them. And now it writes it for you. And now you go and have this meeting and this conversation, and it's prepared by you find who the members, because some chapters may be small, some chapters may be large. We happen to have a 127 member chapter here. And a new member coming into that may be like, I have no idea where to start. Yeah. But you can have it find people inside your own group and give you some great lead-ins to start in that way. What do you have in that conversation?
I love that. Yeah.
The second one is that same list that you just put in. You can now
by the way,
say,
on that list, make sure don't put in email addresses and phone numbers of people.
It doesn't do any of that, right? It's only the public information that's on the public website. But imagine you use that same exact list, and now you can ask it another question. And by the way, this is an AI tool. When you're using AI, the same thread, meaning where you started this conversation, asked a lot of questions to get to where you got to, keep that same thread open and now start another question regards to that same. You can say, now the list I gave you earlier of all my chapter members, who is missing? That is a great referral partner that one of our chapter members could do a lot of business, or multiple members could do business with. Ivan, I just did this. It was mind blowing. I actually went into ChatGPT. I put this information in and I asked the question, and I put it in. And by the way, it came right back and said, it looks like, and it literally broke down my chapter that I typed in, and it said you have 10 members in construction, and 6 in finance, and 4 in legal, and 5 in real estate, and 2 in health and wellness. And here is who it came back saying, you do not have a home inspector, a property inspector in this chapter. And that would be a valuable connection. I'm like, yes, it would. And so I said, in the Oldsmar, Florida area, because the BNI Business Connections chapter is who I was using, can you help me find some? It came up with a list, and then I said, can you please give me their phone number? And it gave me the 7 companies and their website, as well as their phone number for the home inspectors in the city that we're looking for. Now it's shooting fish in a barrel. I pick up a phone and have a very simple question and we know what we use inside of BNI is the GRIP script. Are you interested in growing your business? Is referrals part of that? Can I introduce you to some people who can give you business? And here's the place and time we meet. And I got 7 names and numbers straight out of AI to invite to my chapter. That is a genius method on how to get more visitors to your chapter.
Yeah, it is a powerful, and it's a powerful method. And I think I did a previous podcast on helping a sedan service who wanted to figure out what their power team would consist of. And it came up with some professions that he had never thought of, like a wedding planner and a hotel for, special guests. And there were a couple of other people. So asking these kinds of questions, it's it's amazing that you get great results to enhance your business.
It's so smart. I mean, we had that keynote speaker in Madrid when I was with you, Ivan, at the global conference, who got up and talked about the value, or the smart value, right? Like, what's the IQ of AI? And it is advanced on that by many, many multiples since that time.
Yeah.
And it is better at anything that we reasoning and thinking. It's way better than any of us could ever do on our own, or even with a group of people.
All right, we're almost out of time, and I think you have one other topic that members would like, and that is networking, AI for networking follow-up or follow-through.
Yeah. So how you're looking at, maintaining these relationships, growing these relationships, you really want to look at the opportunity of saying, okay, how can I now make this connection continue to happen? So following up with them, for one, we talked about last episode about making sure you have an action plan from your one-to-one conversation. But now what about the next week and the next week? That chat remembers what you did last time. And now you can say, write me an email that I can use 2 weeks from now. Maybe you have a send feature in your account that you can send it 2 weeks out. And so that it's actually following up with that person again with the words that it knows it used last time. And that way, the people that you're sending this to are amazed. They're like, if you're this good at doing one-to-ones in BNI, how good must you be at your own business?
Yeah.
Right? Because what we see.
That's kind of the setup, right? So that's what we are going to use today. And actually, Gary knows this way more than I do. So there's now agentic AI. So you can actually, it will do it. You don't even have to do much other than prompt the email or the next step or whatever it is. But we're not there yet. We're going to actually start really one step at a time. And what I wanted to do for everybody, I'm going to share my screen in a second. What I wanted to do is give everyone an easy to use template. Doesn't mean that this is the most perfect template, but it is definitely a starting point. One thing I wanted to just point out is that if you don't have a paid account or a paid subscription, then your AI is not going to remember what you did. So you know how they say, use it week upon week? You need a paid account for that memory to remain, right? So I broke it down into several different steps, and we're just going to walk through the steps, and then I'm going to show you some results that I have, and then open it for questions and answers. Sounds good?
Yep.
So the first thing, he also mentioned it, right? You got to be able to make sure that AI knows who you are, what you're looking for. And for some people, you may be using AI a lot already, but I'm kind of taking it to the lowest common denominator and assuming that not everybody has had these conversations with AI. So first and foremost, this is what you would need to do. Just start by explaining who you are, like what are the problems you solve? What are the kinds of people that you're looking for? What are the results that you create? And start having those conversations, and then tell it to remember that, right? So whatever information that you want it to remember, just say, going forward, this is the template that I want you to respond from. So that's step one. That's the easy step. Then comes the level 2 for the source material. So we're lucky in that we have some really good source materials. I'm going to show the first one. So the first one, for those of you who have not already, you're new to BNI and you might not have already seen this, is, I'm going to share, give me a second, is our regional website, our regional BNI website. So this is the chapter directory, right? So remember what he was saying. He said that you can go in and you can put in all the information from our chapter directory. Brian also sends out the flyers, but I wanted to send this to you because in case you wanted to do this for other chapters as well. So this is us, BNI Capital Business Alliance. So the first thing you can do is that you can just copy paste this particular website address in here, and then you can put that in. So, right, so this is your BNI Central website, Maryland website, has 67 members. It shows you all the members in here. So that's step one. The second thing that maybe not everybody in here might have access to, but that's more powerful, is the Capital Business Alliance Ideal Client List. This is where each one of us have gone in And we put in various things such as who our ideal clients are, not only our clients, but who are also our ideal referral partners. And this you need to, because it's password protected, the only real way to put that in there is you need to go into File, you need to download it as a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, and then you can upload it to whatever AI you're using. All right? So far, so good? So that's what I wanted to say. So you can put in information about you personally through your website, through your LinkedIn About section, any information that you have about your clients. And so here's the prompts, right? So for prompts for AI, for each part, I have a workflow step, and then in red are the prompts that AI suggested. You can, of course, change it, but these are the things that they suggest that you answer in order for them to know you. So that was step one. I got a little ahead of myself. So the second was the referral ecosystem. Now you want AI to know who's out there, who are the list of people that you have access to within your whatever chapter, what you call a chamber, it doesn't matter. Just go in and put in all of that information, your chapter directory, any referral categories that you may have, or anything else, like any spreadsheets that you have. And the prompt over here is help me identify referral partners who are serving the same clients. You know, I'm uploading my chapter's member list and their ideal clients along with the directory. Organize the chapter members into likely referral ecosystems. I didn't even do that. I didn't even think about that, right? And I'll show that in a second. And then it says here, focus on those who see my ideal clients before they realize they need my services. That's kind of interesting. You might want to play around with that. So for example, if you have someone who, you know, a realtor understands that people come to them first and then they go to the mortgage broker and the home inspector, etc. So sometimes that might make sense, but sometimes it could be somebody who's doing things synchronistically. Like I didn't go to a realtor. I actually went to a financial planner first to decide whether we could buy a house first, right? So maybe that's not necessarily the right path for everybody that you're looking for. So that's step one and step two, right? So step one is identifying who you are. Step two is giving AI the information it needs to start matching you up. And I'm going to share that with you in a second as to what it did for me. So for me, the strongest ecosystems, it came up with 4. So one is the financial pressure ecosystem. And lo and behold, Diamond and I are already talking and we already do something similar. But here it is, they've laid out all the people that I ought to be talking to based on people who have money stress, inconsistent revenue, scaling fears, right? So all of that, it's already identified likely referral partners that I need to start having one-to-ones with. And so it does that with, you know, leadership and team dynamics. So for example, Javette, I don't think you're on there because otherwise it probably would have put you in that category as well. So this is why it's so important. It's not just you not having access to the tool. I wouldn't even think to contact you if you're not on there because it's not showing up for me that way. So that's number 2. Number 3 is people who work with nervous system reset because they do tapping. It's all very tied in. And then confidence and visibility, right? So cats come up for that actually multiple times. So I'm going to stop over there for a second. We're going to keep going back and forth. So now that they've identified, so here's the prompt, right? Help me identify partners who serve these clients. We already went over that. So now that you've identified it, you know, we were trying to think, ChatGPT and I were trying to think, what's the next step in the workflow? Yes, you can absolutely reach out to people one-to-one, right? That's what you need to do. But maybe you find that there's some people who really, like financial planners might be really good referral sources for me. And I don't want to just limit myself to Diamond. So in your 30 seconds, you can ask ChatGPT or whatever you're using to create a 30-second ask for you to be able to say, hey, I would like to meet financial planners for these reasons, and then put it out in your weekly presentation so that more people are sending you those kinds of referrals. And so here's the prompt for that, right? So use referral partner categories and create a 30-second BNI ask focused on one specific referral ecosystem. So now you're not just focusing just on your chapter, you're also broadening the number of people. And especially when you're new in business, it's a numbers game, because just because ChatGPT says financial planners are good referral partners, for me, in the 12 years that I've been knocking on financial planners' doors, it's been closed until I got to be a diamond. Nobody else was interested. So you have to just reach out to a whole bunch of different categories and people within the category to be able to really whittle down who's that right partner for you. So that's that. But then let's take it even further. Okay, so it's given me these 4 different categories. There are a lot of different people in there. Let's prioritize. Who should be the first people that I meet, right? So it's given me something. So let's rank it as to what's closest to my ideal clients who are already working with those people to those that are a stretch. So here it is. Identify the top 3 to 5 members I should schedule a one-to-one with this month. And it also, what do you talk about, right? So that's a big part of our problem as well. Okay, so we've got this tool, it's telling you the right people, but we may not necessarily know what kind of conversations we should be asking. And so really it's focusing on who's their client base. What kind of symptoms do their clients reveal, right? So they're not talking to somebody, a financial planner is not really talking to them about mindset as opposed to fear or insecurity or those types of things. Then again, I'm not the right person, or I need to educate them to maybe ask those questions. But this is really the part where both of you are qualifying that conversation to really see that just because AI has identified that category or that person as being a good fit, this is where you need to know, are they really a good fit? And so before your one-to-one, here are some of the things that AI has suggested for you to think about. Like, what stories do you want to share? What are the symptoms that you want to say that, hey, you know what? 100% of my clients come to me because they're dealing with some kind of confidence, doubt, insecurity issues. If your clients are not coming with that bent, then perhaps we're not a good fit, right? So before you one-to-one, think about what are those litmus test categories that you work with people on, and see if that's an easy way to kind of say, yes, this is a good fit, or no, this is not a good fit. And again, it's about knowing what to say. So you can ask, give me conversation starters for referral partner categories, right? Questions that I can ask in one-to-ones that will help us recognize the symptoms, the language, or situations that signal a good fit, because oftentimes we can go off track on that one. So how am I making sense so far? I'm going to stop over here and see if anybody has any questions. Do you see this as being kind of useful?
Absolutely. Can you scroll down, where it gave you conversation, or items to discuss in a one-to-one, see how that came out?
You mean for me, like what came up for me? I didn't go that far for me because then we kind of stopped. Actually, I might. I'll look for it. Let me go back and let's do this, because we kept going forward, but let me check. I think it may have given me something. But one thing that I would say is, once you do your one-to-ones, especially if you're doing it via Zoom, then go ahead and upload your notes, right? Put it into ChatGPT and ask it so that it can start making those connections for you. Once ChatGPT knows your client symptoms, what they're complaining about, what they're looking for as results, right? It does a really good job of reading in between the lines and saying, okay, this person is using this language, you're using that language, but actually there's a fit in there, and this is how we see the fit, right? So I would recommend using AI from that perspective as well. So here's the prompt. To review my AI notes and identify the strongest referral overlap. And this is because I asked AI, I asked ChatGPT, I said, well, you're having a conversation. It cannot do that for you. How can it help you then? And so this is what it was saying. It can help you figure out the fit, what story, what to ask in follow up, what stories for you to pay attention to. And so
Yeah, you can literally ask it like, what are 10 questions I should ask in a one-to-one that will help generate referrals based on that information. I've done that.
I'm just going to put that here. What are 10 questions? Can you finish the rest?
What are 10 questions I should ask in a one-to-one that will help us better generate referrals for each other, for example?
Perfect. So I'm gonna stop over here. I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. I just did this in the 1 hour before our session, so I didn't have an opportunity to take the workflow to the very end, which is, okay, so how do you rate these conversations, right? So rate it from 1 to 10 so that I know how often I should be meeting with certain people, because now that you had the conversation, ChatGPT has an opportunity to actually rate it for you to say, these people you should be having weekly conversations. These people you should be having quarterly conversations. Then after that is like, what are next steps? Like, what should you be focusing on so that you're moving past conversations and actually to referrals, right? What should you be doing? What kind of benchmarks should you be focusing on? And it will start very neutrally, right? Just a simple conversation to say, hey, why don't I have you come and give a talk in front of my clients, or let's do a joint talk, right? So something along those lines that moves the needle so that we're not stuck in conversation mode. And then, finally some kind of ending as to, all right, how do we make sure that this continues? Like, what do I need to do to sustain this kind of level of activity? So I didn't get to that level yet, but that's kind of where you can take it and make it your own. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So any thoughts, any questions that anybody has over here?
So they had a question in the chat.
I'm pretty sure I don't have the paid version of ChatGPT, but it seems to save everything. Remember my conversation from a few years back.
Okay, that's good. I didn't think it did, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. So go ahead, Jabet.
Yeah, so I recently had an experience where an individual and I think it like kind of well, no, I don't think I know. The initial interaction started with AI, and then the individual started responding, and of course that whole vibe felt different. And then when I sent a response, then it went back to AI and the vibe was off. So I guess this is maybe a question and thoughts all in one. One of my genuine concerns, I do leverage AI a lot. It's a big reason why I was able to maintain for almost 5 years working full time for my business as an entrepreneur while also working as an administrator at a higher education institution. But my concern is the lack of authenticity. And so when the AI, being able to automate is wonderful. And I guess my only concern is when the AI has not been trained properly to emulate your vibe, and then making sure that anything that you have going out in automation is like minimalist, or keeping it extremely simple, because I feel like the other disconnect is when you and your AI are kind of interacting and go, and then it for me, it's like a brand issue and it leaves a bad taste in my mouth when there's no consistency in the brand voice, but also there's just some offness about it. So I guess how is the question, if you have recommendations, but also so that as other folks are maybe entertaining this for the first time, they're aware of these issues. What are your recommendations? Do you have a particular AI that or automation service? Like I'm familiar with Zapier, I use Claude, I use Perplexity, I use ChatGPT, and several other AIs agents. But is there a particular method or approach or AI platform that you recommend so that you can avoid some of those challenges that could turn off a prospect, whether it's a client or a referral? And I apologize for my dogs if that's loud in the background.
So we'll kind of process exactly because kind of that was a lot. To zone it into like a exact process that you want to get because you want to get your voice, right? So how I do this, how I'm thinking about doing this, you would actually go into detail about your voice, how you want to be, because I build AI voices for specific businesses all day. So I have to generate a personality. And then I do this exactly the same way as like, hey, if I'm with a business owner, they wanted to do that. I try to capture all of the personality. And if I wanted to do that, of course, I would ask AI, give me 20 questions that I can ask to capture that personality. And then I would have you get on a Zoom call. We'd go back and forth, and I would have you go dive deep into that. You can actually do that on your own. You can even record yourself on your phone you can record yourself on the phone and just dive deep into these questions of, let's say, 20 questions that you would ask to capture your voice. Record it if your phone is able to transcribe it, and then you can try to transcribe it into text, and then use that, and then throw it in there. And then you can ask the AI, is this, you can test it with something. And then you would have put guardrails on it too. Do not deviate from these rules because I'm in the business of providing the service to businesses, but they cannot deviate and go outside of this, outside of doing business or whatever the goal is for it. And we strictly do that and strictly test for that. So it doesn't deviate, doesn't go past your what you want as the vibe going for it. And that's kind of how I would capture all of that. And then kind of test it as well. And then kind of go from there. And then you can test it with emails and things of that nature. But yeah, that's kind of how I would go that path.
May I add as well? Oh, I'm assuming yes. Sorry. Something else I do, I put in my prompt words and symbols I want my AI to emit using so that already it comes out more human. So like one thing I noticed when people are using AI, dashes. Dashes is like a dead giveaway that you use AI. So I make sure I include those, some adjectives, like all the LYs, for whatever reason. It likes to use a lot of adjectives. And I stripped that out. I also added my URL to my website because I think the tone of my website captures my brand enough for it to pull information from there. I'm also using it to help me figure out what my slogan is going to be. So just being able to keep track of the notes that I've had to develop the tone of my AI is one way that I do it as well.
Yeah, and there are certain things out there which maybe you guys are all very familiar with, but they've put a lot of information out on how to be able to catch AI, like, how to see AI. It's not this, but that kind of thing, a lot of M dashes, and then yes, everything in kind of bullet points, which makes it easier. So it reads it better, but it also screams AI as well. LinkedIn is now pretty much predominantly, I think, AI generated content. But yeah, you're right. So one thing though, also we're not yet at that place where you're asking AI to send out emails. So at least for this piece, all the human portion of it is still you. it's not coming out from someplace else. I wanted to share, Jerry asked for that information. So here's, I think, what you're looking for. So conversation starters, right? So that's part of the prompts that I had is what are some of the conversation starters for each particular category of the people that it had recommended that I should contact. So is this what you were looking for, Jerry?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so and again, it's not to stick by this, but we tend to get stuck in some of these things we don't know. One of the things that I do now is I actually ask something from the perspective of the people that I'm meeting. So not about what are my client issues, but what is the intersection between my client and, let's say, Jerry's client issues. So that again, I know what stories to tell without us going round and round and maybe not quite getting there. So that's where I leverage it as well. I do a lot of talks and creating flyers. And so I have to keep the audience in mind, right? What are they seeing as the problem, as opposed to before, here's the problem I want to, I think it should be, and I'm going to work on that kind of thing. So let's kind of, I'm going to stop sharing. I will send out the cheat sheet. I will actually even send out the recording, and I'll send it out to the entire chapter. Whoever wants to listen to it, and use it, that would be helpful. But I just wanted to know, how do you guys envision using it? If maybe you're already using it, but how do you envision strengthening specifically referral partner bonds and who to connect with?
Well, for instance, I got a call with Brian tomorrow. I'm prepping an email to basically have everything on there. I have the confirming our time tomorrow. I have a little intro about his business. I have an intro about my business, our products, and then I break it down to where I think we should help each other. A couple of ways we could possibly add value. This is where we can support. This is where you can support us, and then a couple of things I'd love to discuss on our call. And I use that with I throw the website in there. I throw what I know about the person, the BNI website, where it kind of breaks all down the referrals. So I grab all of that, construct the email before I do the one-on-one. So I have all of that intro, and I have to do it because a lot of people haven't heard AI voice with the business. And then I throw some demos in there, and then now he's going to get our new marketing videos that explains both of our products. And that's kind of how I do the pre email before doing a one-on-one. And then some BNI members that I haven't talked to, but I recognize doing the same process that you did. Getting the directory, put it into Claude. I use Claude, and then figuring out who would I best do business with. And so I'm reaching out to them with the same exact email, but different introduction on the top, being like, hey, I'm new to BNI. I would love to do a one-on-one with you if you have time. This is about me. This is about the business. And then I break it down to where I can possibly bring value to you. What you can, or possibly even as a partnership. This is kind of what I'm thinking that might be possible, because this is where my products are. And then here's some questions that I'm probably going to ask if we do go on a one-on-one. And then I'm doing those to people that I scheduled a one-on-one or want to do a one-on-one with.
I've always
He's
used
the
AI
AI guy, so he knows what to do. But can I just say one thing? It was basically what we should all be doing. So that's pretty much it. But go on, Michael.
no, I'm just saying I've always used AI or ChatGPT in a very basic way, like, what do you think about this sentence? Or construct a sentence for me. Um, but no, I'm gonna like tiptoe into it and try putting things into it, spreadsheets into it, and see what happens. I'm not sure where I go with it yet, for real.
Yeah, and start by using the prompts. That's a good place to start, and then everybody will go in their own direction, right? So I've already created prompts for you, and then from there, take it to whatever direction you want to start with. Anybody else? Like any other, any wheels turning in people's heads? Yes, please.
Yeah, no, I love what you're sharing, and insofar as how I have been using AI so far, obviously we've focused on ChatGPT. I do use the paid version for that. I do really love incorporating, especially to address some of the issues that Dominique was sharing, with leveraging Claude for different types of tasks and Perplexity for things that require deep research because of the integrated nature and its comprehensive ability to really pull data that is verified data and run you through its logical thought progression as it's pulling things in, and then it asks you question if it feels like, hey, and I really do appreciate that. So I have been using it for everything very similar to what you said. And again, you have all these different options, but you really can leverage AI to be like, who in my network or who isn't in my network uploading things, you identify, how should I go about it? What should I say? When to say it? Develop a whole email thread. Like, it is completely endless, setting up automations, it's telling it to send things for, so you're no longer using it even as like a creative partner. You're to create deliverables, but you're also now being able to engage it so that it can take on some of the tasks to reduce your workload. And I would not be afraid of it. I would not be intimidated by it. I would literally just go on YouTube and look up videos on how to use it. It's that simple. And really what both of you, Nahid and Gary, are doing today, it's really nice to have somebody be able to answer questions and ask real sort of in response to challenges that you're having. But you can go on YouTube, and really start to learn like what is possible, or even Google. Sometimes I'll say, how can I accomplish this with AI? And then it'll tell me, and then I'm like, I don't even know which AI that is. I go on YouTube, I look it up. So you really should feel empowered and not intimidated by this. And this is going to open up, I feel like, a lot of opportunities for me and my company as well with these referrals.
So, Jeanette, did you say this was Claude?
I use Claude. Now I pay for all my AI because of the type of work that I'm doing. Like I need access, but Claude is really great. That speaks to like what Dominique was saying. You can, for instance, let's say you could write something like, basically, I want to communicate with my blah 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 blah, and this is what I'm trying to get out of them, and this is why, and this is what I'm looking. Like you can just say it in your own natural voice, and then Claude will produce for you something amazing that really makes you feel good about yourself because you look so much smart. This is my experience. I feel like, oh, I am smart. No, I'm not. I'm not that smart. Claude's smart, but it makes me look good. So yes, Claude is one. And then for like deep research, Perplexity. Claude, ChatGPT, and Perplexity right now are kind of like my three main go-tos that I feel like are very dependable. I would make sure that Perplexity and Claude are very good about their privacy settings. I would make sure you go into ChatGPT and tell it not to learn from what you're putting in and sharing that information out. But the sky's the limit. And y'all have given me even more, ideas about how to really get the juices flowing for all of this with the referrals for sure.
I'm kind of
What
wondering.
I guys, Peter.
Oh, thanks. I'm kind of wondering, like, I've been using ChatGPT like primarily, so it knows all my history, and I'm wondering, like, is there a way for, like, if I'm interested in
Yes.
using Claude and Perplexity, there's a way to.
You can Google that too. How do I get all
Okay.
my information? And Claude will actually walk you through it. So you don't have, that was the other thing that scared me. I'm like, I cannot start again. I've been working for years with ChatGPT. It knows everything. I've worked so hard. I've built the voice, I've built the brand, but you can transfer everything. That's the best
Awesome.
part. And you can still use ChatGPT to do a lot of the work, like if you have a free version and you get it to a point where then you take that and go
Mhm.
to the other AI, and then you're just like, holy smokes. So yeah,
Great.
play around.
One thing I was
Brian,
gonna jump in and say, I've used it to, I've best practice way of doing your 30-second introductions, the who, how, and what. So I've created a kind of a complex prompt in order based on what is a best practice feature presentation for my business and industry to match all those who, how, what categories, and then I adjusted by a particular, I have it identify what are the top types of clients that I'm looking for. Put that in there. You can do it by seasonality, and then you can you ask it to create a spreadsheet of 30-second introductions for the entire year based on every single week, and have it spit it out to you in a spreadsheet.
So
Now,
for those of you who were not on the financial power team earlier, I thought we were supposed to be reducing screen time. Just saying.
you
What do you
um,
mean?
reduce your non-productive screen time. How
non-productive
is
screen
that?
time. Okay.
I mean,
Now,
what
Clay
you,
had a
Gary,
question
and
earlier.
Brian have just shared is, incredible, and I have my work cut out over the weekend. I'm just poking fun at all of us, myself included.
Clay earlier had a question about his cell phone number being on that spreadsheet.
Yeah, so
Okay.
from my perspective, no information that's on there as a business owner is private information, right? So if somebody were to say, hey, I want, I don't know, I want to connect a client that I have or a referral to Gary, that telephone number is what I'm going to be giving them. That email address is what I'm going to be giving them. We're not, so that's my 2 cents about it.
Makes
There
sense.
shouldn't really be a whole lot out there that's on that sheet that's not already out there. You go to somebody's website, their telephone number is going to be listed.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
But if you have
But
your
if
personal cell phone and you don't want it on there, then go in there, edit it out, and put your business number in there.
Right. I mean, if it makes you feel better, go ahead and use the website that I showed you. It just will strip out your telephone number from that and your email address, I think, from that. So, and the reason I showed the website is because you don't, some of us have very narrow niches, like, Michael, you have a very narrow niche. You don't want to just stick with what our chapter. You really want to be able to expand out and meet other dentists, for example. So that's the way to be able to get the list of everybody in Central Maryland.
Okay.
And then one last thing that I just kind of leave this thought for people in power teams, you can, as they say, use this exercise for your power team and say, who are the kinds of visitors we would like to invite specifically for our power team, right? Who would make us a little more complete? Because again, we struggle with how do we do that? And you saw you can go put it in, put in the radius or location, and it will give you the list of individuals, companies, etc., that are focused on those categories for us to be able to invite.
Yep.
So any last thoughts, any final words?
This was great.
This is really good.
How
Yeah.
about we do a 1 month check-in at our 1 month from now podcast discussion, just to kind of see how we are doing when it comes to that.
I'm for that.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
Sure.
I will put it on the calendar, and either Jerry or I, whoever is the one leading that, will start by just a short conversation as to where are we on that. What have we run up? Like, what are some of the obstacles and what are some of the wins that we got through that?
Um, Nahid, as someone who's following you next week, you raised the bar. I'm going to have to really get my game up. But thank you. This was great.
Yours was really good last week too. I'm gonna stop the conversation right here. So yeah, so